अरे सुना क्या? क्या?
अरे सुना नहीं क्या?
अरे क्या भाई?
अरे कार्निवल आ रहा है।
कैसा कार्निवल?
कैसा नहीं, पूछो क्या क्या।
बहुत कुछ हॉटेस्ट डिस्काउंट ऑन कोर्सेज, लाइव लर्निंग, जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटी, अ परफेक्ट वे टू लेवल अप योर समर टाइम।
अरे इतना सारा?
जी हाँ, इतना सारा। सी यू एट गीक्स इन कार्निवल।
अरे कहाँ?
डिस्काउंट लेने।
Hello everyone, welcome back to Geeks for Geeks. My name is Muskan Agarwal, and before I start with this webinar, I want to confirm that I am perfectly visible and audible. So just give me a thumbs up in the comment section if you guys can perfectly see me and hear me. I do not want any network glitches in this particular webinar. So we have a very special guest Soham with us today who is going to share about his interview experience, and he is going to give his tips so that the placement process becomes a little bit easy for you all. So yes, just give me a thumbs up in the comment section and then I will quickly start the webinar. Hi Shivam, hi Zahir. Right. We'll wait for another 10 seconds so that more people can join us. Also, before starting off with the webinar, I would like to tell you all that as Geek Summer Carnival is going on, we have huge discounts on all the courses, and there are so many courses which can help you during your placement preparation. So do not forget to check them out. I think this is an opportunity that you guys cannot afford to miss. So yes, all the links would be in the description box below. So yes, please check out all the courses that are there. Hi Sagar, hi Soumya, hi Ravi. Yes. So now I will quickly add Soham to the webinar. Hi Soham, how are you doing?
Hi Muskan, I'm doing good. What about you?
Yeah, I am doing good as well. So let us start with the webinar. As I can already see, there are so many people live. So before starting, can you give a brief introduction about yourself so that the audience connects with you better?
Sure. So I'm Soham Mukherjee. I'm one of the educators at Geeks for Geeks. Right now, I teach on the channel Geeks for Geeks practice. So if you want to learn something, you can definitely join there. Other than that, I'm a full-time employee at Google right now. And before that, I worked with Coordination for 1 year, and after that, I made a switch to Google. Uh, if you want to talk more about like my experience or my background, I'm from Jadavpur University. I have been in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, and after that I did internship at SDE Shaw. From there I joined, like after that I joined Coordination as a full-time employee, and finally at Google. So yeah, that's mostly about myself. Again, like we'll get to know more about me throughout this journey, I believe. So yeah, like I'll wait for the questions after this.
Yes, that is really amazing. So I wanted to ask, can you share what is the general hiring procedure? If we talk about Google, or because you've given so many interviews, can you tell us like what is the hiring
Right.
procedure of all the companies?
um, Talking about the hiring procedure, it's like first you have some screening round, right? In that screening round, first of all, like if you're applying, like it depends if you're applying for off campus versus on campus. Now in off campus there will be one crucial point, which is getting shortlisted, right? Getting the test link, what we say, right? So if you are applying on campus, most likely if you're from CS background or IT background, you will be allowed to apply. If you're from different backgrounds, then in that case there will be some test before that, and based on that you will be allowed to apply. Now once you have the test link, or you are giving the assessment, online assessment, what we call, uh, there will be some questions that will be given to you, and maybe some MCQs as well after that. So you have to solve those questions within the given time, let's say 1 hour or 1.5 or 2 hours. And once you're done with that, after that, if you have scored enough, like there's a threshold that you have to cross. Let's say you are in the top 1 percentile, then in that case you will get an interview call. Now in the interviews, generally there will be 3 to 5 rounds of interviews. It varies from companies to companies. The interviews, what is asked in the interviews, it completely varies from company to company. In some cases there might be some questions, DSA questions. In some cases there might be some project discussion or something. We'll get into more details, like I think throughout this session. So yeah, like after that, generally after you have cleared all the interview rounds, you might have a HR round or something like that, or behavioral round, and finally you are given the offer, so you can accept it or you can go for counter offers and those things, right? So that's generally like the procedure that happens, like what happens during like the hiring season or when you are
Hi.
actually applying for a job.
Right. Also, like this is the online assessment part, right? That you mentioned that there would be
Right.
technical questions and some MCQs.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
after the online assessments, the most difficult part, according to few of the students, that is the interview comes. So, can you share
Right.
some insights, like what does a technical interview look like?
Sure. So again, like I said, it varies from companies to companies, right? So let's take a few examples and understand the process better. So, like I haven't myself sat for an Amazon interview, but again, like a lot of my friends actually appeared for Amazon interviews. In Amazon, generally there are 2 to 3 rounds of interviews. In each of the round, you are asked DSA questions. So you have to solve those questions within like, and the questions are mostly like let's say medium or hard level question, medium, easy, medium, hard, like really hard but easy medium level questions. And you have to solve those questions within the given time. And in that case, like you will go in the next round and something like that. Again, like this will vary for different levels. Like what I'm talking about is the entry level. I'll talk in more details about experience level, like after this. So that's one way, right? The second, let's take the example of Code Nation. Now Code Nation is believed to be one of the most difficult interviews in the country right now. So what happens there is, first round is mostly project discussion. Whatever projects you have done, you have to discuss about that, and the interviewer might actually question you, like why have you used this, why not this, how have you implemented this, and like some details about the project. This After you have cleared that, you will go into a DSA round. Now this DSA round is generally a bit tougher than like other companies. Like you are asked proper very good questions, like they might be asking you from 3DP or bitmask DP or something. So you have to solve both the questions, and like generally they will ask you 2 questions, so you have to solve both of them within 1 hour. And after that, the third round, it's actually pretty interesting there. So it can be anything. So there are multiple things that can happen in the third round. One thing is system design. They can ask you a system design based question where you have to design a system, you have to scale it, and you have to tell all the components, like how the components are fitting in. Other than that, it can also be a project in-depth discussion, I would say. Like whatever projects you have worked on, right? So let's say you have used a database. Now the interviewer might actually go into details about that database and ask you more questions around that, like what can happen if this happens and that happens, right? Or maybe some subtopics around that. So it might be a more in-depth discussion on your project, where they will focus on all the things that you have worked on and ask you more in-depth questions, or technically depth questions, or more technical questions on those fields, right? And other than that, it can also be an open-ended round, where you have to just think open-endedly, like what are the various features I can add. Like let's say you are given a problem statement. Hey, you have to design something like some modification of YouTube. What would you do? What are the things would you suggest? So that's an open-ended question, right? So you have to suggest what are the things that you think you would build them, and maybe propose a solution as well, that this is how I would go about that. So that's these are the 3 rounds that happens, and after that the offer is rolled out to you if you ace all the 3 rounds. So mostly, like in most companies, it circulates around that for an entry level. I would say in most companies, actually it's just DSA questions that are being asked. As in some cases there might be some project discussion, definitely. Like in many companies, they actually discuss a bit about projects as well before every round, or there's a specific round for that. Now there are also some rounds that are reserved for CS fundamentals, right? Like how well do you know about databases, how well do you know about operating system, or the various concepts around that, right? What is threading, what is caching, and what is normalization, and these things, right? So they'll be asking you questions around that on the core on the CS concepts or fundamentals, and you have to you have to answer them as well. So that's there. And other than that, system design is really asked for entry level. So it's like some companies do ask system design, some companies don't ask. It completely depends, but it's very rarely asked, right? Now that's mostly about the
I
fresher
think your
level. Now
video
I
is
can
stuck.
sorry, my video is stuck. Can
Uh,
anyone tell in the chat if my video is stuck or not?
I think your video is stuck, Soham. Yeah,
uh,
it's
I
perfect now. It's perfect now.
Oh, okay, okay, sure. Sorry. So yeah, like let's now come to maybe a step up on from entry level. So what I'm talking about is SDE 2 level, right? Or so in SDE 2 level, generally again, it's generally DSA. DSA is a code component here as well. Other than that, they'll ask you system design. Definitely, they'll be asking you system designs, like how would you build scalable system. One more important thing that comes when you are actually experienced is design patterns, right? Or making writing good code. So there are multiple design patterns that are there out there, the solid principles and those things. So you have to like they'll be asking you like write some code, right? Let's say write a traffic management system and make it scalable, make the code scalable, so that you can easily, like, let's say right now you're handling 3 junctions, you can easily extend it to 5 junctions or 6 junctions, or design a parking lot where let's say you are just handling a few set of vehicles and you can easily extend it to multiple other vehicles and add more features without actually like so you understand the concept, right? That it's mostly around how good you write the code, how extensible your code is, right? So that's another key component that comes there, right? And beyond that, like if it's beyond L4 level, it's generally like definitely those things definitely like as your level grows up, the importance of data structure algorithm actually comes down, and the importance of system design and design patterns go up tremendously. And other than that, there will also be managerial skills, like whether you can manage a set of people or not, how good a team leader you would be, and these things will also come into play.
Right. I wanted to ask that you talked about system design. So I've seen that some of the entry level jobs, like some of the companies ask system design for SDE1 as well. So like what do
Right.
they expect? Like we need to tell them the basics, like the basic structure, or they expect very elaborate answer and very specific answer.
Right. So what the expectation, again, the expectation here is that it will be mostly theoretical, because again, like you would not have worked with scalable or distributed systems in your college. So
Right.
mostly around how much theoretical you are good, like how much theoretically you know about those things. So definitely a good knowledge would be helping. Like you should know about the basic concepts of distributed systems, like what distributed systems are, what is cap theorem, and about like what are load balancers, what are how to actually scale databases, how to scale servers, and at every level like how to scale everything, right? So that's the expectation. So generally the question is like you are given a system, you have to design that system, and what is the best possible way, like what are the various components that you will use to design that system. Now again, in these type of questions, the questions are very like very easy, right? I would say very easy, because they wouldn't actually expect you to know a lot about different components that might actually make the system faster, like let's say Kafka or message queues or something like that. So it's mostly around like you should know how to scale databases, you should know how to scale servers, and that's it. Like maybe you are asked to design a URL shortener, right? So you can just tell that, hey, this is the database I will use, and also what type of database will you use, MySQL, NoSQL, graph based, and these things. So you'll just tell, hey, I'm using this database, I'll be partitioning the database against this, I'll be making it, I'll follow a master slave architecture or something. So you just should know about these things, like what is partitioning, what is master slave architecture. Again, now coming to the server also, you can tell similarly that I'll be using a load balancer in front of multiple servers, and those things, right? So again, like they are not in depth, they are just basic concepts of distributed systems, and it is expected that you might know a few of them like from your college itself. But again, like you should definitely like look into these things, they are pretty interesting.
Right. Like I think as you go from SD 1 to 3, the difficulty level and the
Right.
expectations increase when it comes to system design and design pattern, right?
Definitely, right, because you now have an industrial experience, so you should know about how to design scalable systems, or you should know how to write good code or extensible code, right? Because that's a key component when you're actually joining a company. You should, and as a well, like experienced person, that you should be able to write extensible code and also teach others how to write that, or you should be able to build scalable systems and also help others around that. So that's
Right.
definitely like you bring that experience with you, so that's why the questions will be more difficult.
Also, one question came to my mind right now. Like in Google, I've heard there's a round called Googliness round. Like the last round
Right.
is that, I
Yes.
guess. So can you tell a bit about that? Because I see a lot of students are very
Right.
confused. Like they can ask anything in that. So
uh, Not really. Like if you actually look into the interview experiences, people are like I don't know, it's nothing to be tensed about that round. It's mostly a behavioral round, right? Like let's say you will be given situations about various things, like hey, if you are in a this situation, if your manager is bad, if your colleagues are bad, what would you do? So it's mostly a behavioral round, and it's mostly like there's no way to prepare for these things. Definitely you can follow some answers that are available online and you can try to frame it, but again, like it should come from
Right.
inside of you, that hey, if my manager is bad, what should I do? And there's no one who will teach you that this is something that you should do, it is something that you not. It's more like what your behavior is towards that and how do you handle situations. So there's no preparation needed for that separately, and it's pretty like cool or chill around. So yeah.
Right. Because I think for companies it is very important that their employee fits into the company culture. So I think
Right.
this round is very important and we should not, take it lightly.
Definitely,
Right.
no, I'm not never saying that we should take it lightly, like you should not answer anything, but again, like it's your behavior, right? You first thing
Right.
that you should be keeping in mind is empathy, right? Like what if you are in their situation, what would you how would you feel? So you should keep these things, these values in mind, and they're again inbuilt within you, right? No one is going to teach you additionally that hey, this is the value that you should develop, or this is the empathy that you should develop, or you should be empathetic, right? So that should be already there within you, and you have to answer based on that, like what do you feel would be the best way for like if such situations arise, what will be the best way to tackle that without without actually let's say complaining or someone or something. Like definitely if the need be, we have to complain, but that should not be the first go-to principle.
Right, definitely. So there's nothing to be scared about. Just be honest and like
Right.
answer the situation, whatever is asked to you. Right.
Right, exactly, be honest.
So the next question I wanted to ask, like projects play a very important role when it comes to
Right.
selection and in interviews, like the entire interview can revolve around your project sometimes. So can you tell
Right.
us like what projects can students work on and what is the importance of good projects in your resume?
Sure. So projects definitely like they play a very important role these days, because like it's a proof of work, right? Like you have done some work, you actually are good at developing, so that's a proof of work, right? Your projects. So what's expected there is definitely it makes your resume better. So if you have multiple projects, you actually can like tell how you have done those things, not like 10 pages or something, but just maybe 1 2 liners about what are the various technologies that you've used. So that will give an idea to the interviewer or to the companies that hey, this guy is actually proficient in these things, so why not, like we are actually looking for similar candidates with these skills, so why not like just talk to him or something. So that's the first idea, that it will highlight what you have done and what you're proficient in. Now coming to interviews, like again, like they're also although like when you are actually applying for big companies or something like that, so it's not expected that you will know whatever technologies they use, and most of the technologies there are actually in-house, right? So you would not even use it for your college projects or something. So so in that case, projects basically tell like whether you have done some work, whether you can actually develop something or develop something under strict timelines, or whether you can develop how good a developer you are. So and also it throws light on your knowledge, like what are the, if you have followed the best practices around that. Let's say, so generally the interviews will be like hey, tell me about your project, right? So you explain your project, and based on that, let's say you have used a certain database, so they will be questioning you, hey, why this database, why not some other database, right? Or let's say you have used certain concepts like multi-threading or multi-processing. So those things will come up, like what is why threading, why processing, and those concepts, like what is the difference between them. So it's a good way to test your knowledge as well, like how well acquainted you are with the things that you have done. And it's generally the expectation here is that whenever you do a project, be very truthful about it. Like you should not just copy someone else's project and write that in your resume. I know that's something that might actually sound enticing, that hey, this is available on Google, why don't I just add it to my resume? Because when someone will ask you proper questions, right, that why have you used this, or why have you what is the why, what is the purpose of this in this project, in that those cases you will just get stuck. So you should actually have have done that, and you should also explore, like when you are doing a project, you should also explore various alternatives, that if I'm using this, why not I'm using something else, and these things, and that will definitely increase your knowledge. And also when you are explaining to someone, it also helps you, one more very important thing here, it will also help you kill time in your interviews. So let's say in your interview, there's a discussion around your project, and after that some questions will be asked to you. So if you are actually taking more time discussing your project and the various challenges that you have faced, or the various options you've considered, it actually takes more time. Let's say you are filling 20 minutes with your project, and the interview duration is 40 minutes, so the interviewer only will have 20 minutes to ask you questions. That is beneficial for you, because you have to answer less questions, right? And if you just spend 10 minutes or 5 minutes, then the remaining time will be entirely like based question answers. So there, it might be a bloodbath, right? So definitely killing time is one of the important things here.
Right. So there was one of my friend who was not very good in DSA, but he had very good projects. So like the entire interview revolved around the projects itself, and like no DSA questions were asked since no time was left, as you mentioned. So
Right.
yes, it can really help you,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
So my next question was like, what is the importance of system design and design principles? I think we've already discussed it and you've told it, but can you share a
Right.
few resources which students can refer in order to prepare for these two subjects?
Um, sure. So for system design, I believe as a fresher, well, I'm not an expert here or something, but again, like as a fresher, I would like blindly suggest watch God of Sense videos, right, on
Right.
system design. They are pretty good. Like they're available on YouTube for free. They're pretty good. So just watch those videos. You'll learn a lot of things. After that, it should not be just that you are watching the video and learning, but it should be like when he's talking about something, right? Let's say he's talking about message queues, or he's talking about NoSQL databases. You should also go and explore yourself. Like just Google up, right, what are message queues, or what are NoSQL databases, or what is pub sub model, right? So you should just Google around that and understand what is the why he's using that thing there, right? And why not somewhere else, or why not something else. Those things should be very clear. So I think starting point should be that those set of videos. After that, for each of the parts or each of the things that he mentions, you can separately deep dive into those and learn about them. For design patterns, well, I cannot actually suggest a very good course right now. I'm not aware of any YouTube video, but yeah, definitely there are some good uh, articles that are there around design principles, and also I believe there are some good articles in Geeks for Geeks around like like around questions that are asked in interviews, right? Like design uh, that is called parking lot, design a parking lot, or those questions. So definitely like go through those questions and see how people have designed those questions, like how people are writing code there, and you will get a fair amount of idea like why someone is writing code in some way, right? So and what are some best practices around that. And definitely like if you just Google up on design principles, I believe like there will be some blogs and articles coming up, so just read around them, and I believe that should be helpful.
Right. There are a number of resources. Like if you want to learn, you can
Yep,
follow any resource, but make sure you know
exactly.
whatever. Like follow one resource. It should not be like you're following 10 resources. Like this was one of the mistakes that I did initially. I used to follow many resources because I was so confused. Which one should I follow? So yes.
Right, you should not be confused. You should follow multiple things. You should definitely follow, but again, like after developing an understanding, you should go in depth,
Hmm.
like see what others have to say about that, right? There might be some additional things that you learn out of that, but again, like
Right.
you should not follow multiple resources for the idea of exploration, right? Like you are confused which one is better, so just follow 10 things. That's not good. But once you're done with one thing, you know the idea, you have that idea. After that, you can follow more things just to get more depth, like in-depth knowledge about that.
Right. And if data structure is concerned, I've already told before, I'll tell it again that we have discount on the courses related to data structures and other courses as well. So the link is in the description box below. Geek Summer Carnival is going on. So definitely make full use of it. And we have so many courses at student friendly prices. So check the link in the description box below. Yes. So my next question was resume. I think resume is something that reaches to the company before even we reach till the interview. So like what are some
Right.
of the tips that you would like to give for the resume preparation that can help the resume stand apart from the rest of the students?
um, sure. So like resume is definitely very important, and building a good resume is actually, I believe, is an art. And not everyone is really good at it, right? Like many people would suggest multiple things, add this, add that, but again, like it just matters like what you think is right. And should, like, first thing when you are actually building a resume, just think about it. Should I, when you are looking into someone else's resume, what are the things, like what, how would you like it, right? So some things that I feel that I would like in someone else's resume, that's why I built my resume like that, is firstly I should know what is the experience of that person. Has he done multiple internships? Has he done is he working with some big company? Is he, has he done a lot of projects? So around the experience, right? After that the projects come in. So projects basically give me an idea about what is the tech stack that he has used, how much knowledge he has, how much he has actually built projects himself. So that gives me a fair amount of idea around that, right? After that, what I look for is his competitive programming profile, right? Like whether he is good at competitive programming, what is the ratings in CodeChef, CodeForces, if he has secured rank in competitions like Kickstart, Hacker Cup, and Google Code Champ, ICPC, these things. So what around the competitive programming profile, so that should come as an achievement section. Again, like if you have some more achievements, like if you have won hackathons, if you have done something, so that should also come there. After that, I wouldn't really care about what college the person is from or what is the CGPA of the person, as long as he's really good developer, he's good at problem solving and these things. So I would generally try to keep that at the end. And maybe after that, or before that as well, the skills should come in, like what are the various technologies you're proficient in, what are the various languages you're proficient in, and these things, right? So that's generally like my idea around the resume, that first, because when I look into the resume, I would like to see the important things initially, right? So to me, the most important thing is your experience, where have you worked before. After that comes your projects, and your, like, projects and achievements are actually interchangeable. I wouldn't like rate them like it's more important, it's less important. It's up to you how you want to design. So projects, achievements, then your college, and your skills, like what things you've worked on. So that's my like preference towards resume.
And some of the students ask that should we mention certifications in the resume? So what is your suggestion, like
Right.
Udemy certifications or some other certifications that they've done?
R- right. It's a difficult question, right? Like I myself had mentioned a certification, but again, like that certification was kind of an achievement for me. So I cleared CC both beginner and advanced, both of them. So that's why I added, because that was a competition that I had, like that was a test that I had to give in a proctored environment, and I had to solve a lot of hard questions. So definitely, like I felt that it had some value. It adds the value to my resume. So you have to like think whether it adds value. Let's say you have done some course, and you actually don't think it adds a lot of value, right? Like it does. If you have done let's say Python development course, it doesn't make you a great Python developer, right? Your projects actually make you a great Python developer. So if you have, during your course, if you have done some good projects, or because of your course you have done some good projects, you can add those. But again, like I don't that's again a personal opinion, and different people will have different takes on that. And I'm in no way an HR, right? So I cannot actually comment whether it has importance or not. But I feel that just do not add a lot of irrelevant information, because that makes your resume clumsy. It makes your like resume less attractive to someone. So for me, it would be a big no if the certification just involves like doing some course and learning some things. If the certification is some challenge, that let's say you have done you have gained some competition, like you have appeared for some competition, you got a certificate, or you have built a big project or participated in some hackathon, got some certificate, that definitely adds value to your resume.
Right. Right. Also, one thing I would like to add, that try to keep the resume one page, because I see sometimes a
Definitely.
lot of students make 2 to 3 pages resume. I've seen freshers doing it. So yes, keep your resume one page if possible.
Yeah, definitely. One page
Yes.
resumes.
So my last question to you would be, after that we'll move to the questions that are asked by the audience. So like according to you, what are your final tips? Like what should be the ideal strategy for students if they are preparing for any big tech company?
Sure. So it completely depends on what is the stage they are at right now. Like, do they have their interviews a few months from now, or 1 year from now, or just 1 2 months from now? Right. So if the interview is very near, I'll just break into stages. Right. So first is, if the interview is very near, I would say every day give some time to solve random problems. You don't have to solve specific problems, like target a topic, binary search or dynamic programming, and solve problems around that. Just solve random problems and solve difficult ones, right? Not easy ones, like medium hard difficulty problems. Target those and solve, let's say, 3 4 problems every day, right? After that, whatever time is left, you can actually use that to increase your skills on, let's say, system design, like understanding about various distributed, understanding about distributed components and various components. And secondly, it will be CS fundamentals, like understanding about databases, operating system, and those things, right? So once and networking as well, computer networks as well. So once I think that should be like, when you have 1 2 months in hand and you are preparing. If you are weak in some topic, let's say you are very weak in dynamic programming and you know it, then you should definitely, like, uh, instead of solving random problems, just solve as many dynamic programming problems as you can for a few days, and after that start solving random questions. Now if you have some amount of time, right, let's say 6 months 7 months from now, then first thing is definitely learn topic wise. So if you have some topics for a few months, let's say 2 3 months, learn in a topic wise, like whatever topics you are weak at, let's say binary search, dynamic programming, so or trees or graphs, just learn about those topics, solve as many problems as you can. After that, start solving random questions, like solve randomly questions randomly. You should not know what is the question like topic of that question, right? Like whether it's a DP question or a tree question. So that's very important. Secondly, if you don't have any projects, you can definitely spend some of your time, invest some of your time for your projects. And I believe like 2 months is enough, like 1 to 2 months is enough to create a good project. So you should definitely like try creating a good project. And after that, again, like the same strategy, like learn about the fundamentals, learn about distributed systems, learn about, if there's time, although for pressure level design patterns is not that important, but if there's time, you can definitely look into that as well, right? And if you have a lot of time left with you, then again, like the same strategy, take some time, solve more problems on each of the topics. Once you're confident with each of them, start solve, and also try doing some CP parallelly, like competitive programming parallelly, because that will definitely like take your skills to the next level. And after that, you can just like start solving random problems, although in competitive programming you would be solving random problems as well. So that would definitely help further. And projects, you have to do some projects, and then the fundamentals.
In projects, I forgot to ask one thing. Like, will it be okay if I work, like I'm working like totally from scratch, but very basic level, like maybe I'm simply developing some website and not working on very complex projects? Is it a bad thing or like a good thing?
Not really, like no one is expecting you to build mm, let's say Facebook sitting at school, right?
Right.
Or sitting at college. So it should be, it definitely the project should be simple, but again, like what are the decisions that you have taken, right? That actually matters. Like it might be as simple as a chat application, or as simple as a to do application, but in a to do application, what is the database that you have used? Have you used a MySQL or a NoSQL? If MySQL, why a MySQL database? Why not a object based database? Let's come to the other, what did I suggest right now? A to do app, and it was
Chat application.
like chat application. So if it's a chat application, how you are managing the instant messaging? You are using WebSockets. Why WebSockets? Why not something else, right? Why not just long pulling or long pulling APIs or something like that? So yeah, like mostly around that, like it can be as simple as these things. Or what I suggest to people, like many people come to me and ask, hey, I don't have project ideas, what, how should I get some ideas, right? So what I suggest to them, firstly, what you can do is, you can think about what is the problem you are facing, right? If you are facing any problem, let's say you are identifying that I'll give an example, like just out of the blue. Hey, there might be some applications available for this, right? I'm not sure about that, but hey, I'm not able to track my expenses properly, right? And might need some application that will help me do that. So there might be hundreds of applications that are doing that, but again, like you can just build that, right? You are not selling it to people, or you're not actually giving it away to people or trying to market it. It's not your agenda. Your agenda is to have just a good project. So definitely, like just make that and use it as your, like, use it for managing your expenses, right? So I generally suggest that identify a problem that you're facing and try to build a project around that. If you don't have any ideas about what can you build, in that case, definitely google up some project ideas, or try cloning some applications that are there, right? Like try cloning Instagram, like not complete Instagram, but maybe an MVP, like a small minimum viable product on Instagram or LinkedIn, let's say. So yeah, something around that.
Yes, definitely. I 100% agree with you. Like one of the interviews I gave, they were discussing about my website that I made on React. So they asked me why did I use React and not Angular, as you suggested for
Right.
database. And I was stuck in that particular question. So yes, later I realized that I should know the alternatives of what I'm using as well, as you mentioned. So yes,
Exactly.
yes. So now we can take few of the questions from the comment section. So the first
Sure.
question is asked by Siddheshwar, that what is the role of extracurricular activities in interviews, and what should be the approach for first and second year of students? Yeah.
Okay. Like I do have very strong views on this, but again, like it completely like is my views. I'm no in no way telling that others might not have different views,
Right.
and I'm also not an HR. But if you're suggesting, like, I'm not sure what is extracurricular activities to you, but there might be various things. Like if you're talking about competitive programming as an extracurricular, which it is, like it's an extracurricular activity that you're doing, then definitely it's actually building up your problem solving skills, and I'm 100% okay with that. I definitely want you to have a very good competitive programming profile. But if you're talking about extracurricular as, let's say, campus ambassador or something like that, then I don't think that they offer a lot of value, right? It's definitely it's good, you can add it to your resume or something, but again, like if someone gives me a resume, I would just like ignore that part and read the rest of the things. So that's a strong view that I have again. But yeah, like you again develop some skills there as well. You may be like promoting something, some event, or let's say you are managing some events. So definitely those are skills as well, and they might be appropriate for certain roles. Like if you're going for a program manager based role or a project manager based role, those skills might actually queue in. But when you're actually going for a developer role, that skills actually won't carry a lot of value there, right? So just think about the role that you want to go, and based on that, if you have some extra curriculars to back you up. I'm not saying that extracurriculars is bad. You should definitely have extracurriculars. If you are enjoying that, you should definitely do that. But I don't think it's a good thing that you can add in your resume if it doesn't align with your with the things that you do, right? So but definitely you can add, or others might have different point of view. It's completely like something that I feel.
Right, definitely. Like if an HR is seeing, I think if you'll mention some campus ambassador as you wrote, so the company is not going to benefit a lot with you being a
Right.
campus ambassador, right? So
Yeah,
like the
if
company
you are,
wants, yeah,
sorry, yeah,
yeah,
if
continue.
you're going for a software developer role, right, they won't benefit a lot there.
Definitely. And then
But
he's asked that
if
what should
you're
be the approach.
sorry,
Yeah.
I'm in cutting you here, but again, like if you're let's say if you're a judge at an event, that's based on that judge of a hackathon, right? So that actually carries some value, because that shows that you have you have a good skills, you have good skill set, and you can you are in a position that you are judging people based on their development skills. So that might carry some value. So yeah, it depends.
Right, definitely. I 100% agree. Also, Siddheshwar has asked that what should be the approach, or I think what should be a first or a second year student doing, do like
uh,
basically.
I would say not to worry a lot, right? Because campus placements, it comes in after second year, or like for internship, and after third year for FT. So yeah, like don't worry a lot. Enjoy your college life. but you should not only enjoy your college life, you should do something. So I would suggest doing competitive programming definitely. That's the first thing you should do. You should get into competitive programming. You should solve problems. You should have fun competing with others, right? So that's something that you should develop. And also, if you can work on some cool projects. You can build your, let's say you have cultural fest or tech fest, so you can build the websites for that. In that way you can learn a lot of things, right? You can learn about how to design good websites and those things.
Right, definitely. Then Abhijit is asked that what impact does it have on having 1 years of experience or experience in general, and to what extent it adds to our advantage?
Experience definitely helps, right? Sorry. So if you have 1 year of experience, it's more likely that uh, let's say there's one vacancy and there are two candidates. One has 1 year of experience, one has no experience. So it's kind of rule of thumb that I'll prefer the one with having 1 year of experience, right? Because although it might happen that the person with no experience actually has a lot of knowledge compared to the 1 year experience, in that case I'll prefer the other one. But it's generally a conception to us that if someone has good experience, then that person is good, right? That person knows how to work in an industry or how to develop things. That person already comes with that advantage. So definitely they will get more preference. Having experience definitely have like that advantage, that you will always get a preference over others.
Definitely. So it will definitely be advantageous in every case, right? Having experience. Then
Right.
there's a question that how to prepare for Python developer interview.
Python, like it's very specific, right? So if you want to become a Python developer only, so in that case you should learn about Python first. After that you should learn like what do you want to become, like Python developer. So you should learn around some web technologies, like you can learn about Django, Flask or something, right? Like that. Build some projects, and also like definitely like do DS as well parallelly. So that will, like, I think that should be good enough for becoming a Python developer or a Python developer interview. And also you should be very thought about, like whenever it comes to a particular programming language, right? I actually forgot to mention about that. So whenever it comes about a particular programming language, like they are asking only for Python developers, they are only asking for C++ developers. In those cases there will be some rounds that are completely focused on Python, right? So they will be
Right.
asking you questions based on Python, like what are the various things that you can do with Python, or questions on C++, right? Like what are smart pointers and those things. And you have to be very thought about the concepts, like the concepts around that language, or the new things that are coming around that language. So you should be very like comfortable around those things.
Right. Also, like you should have good projects that you have built on Python. I think if you are specifically applying for
Right.
Python developer roles.
Right.
Yes. So then Uditya has asked that is Geeks for Geeks sufficient for DSA preparation for technical interviews?
You should take that question, I believe.
Yeah, I think like I'll answer like how I prepared. So I personally used Geeks for Geeks and LeetCode, and I think it was more than enough. Like I have given few of the interviews, and I think there was nothing that was not there on Geeks for Geeks. So according to me, it is sufficient, but definitely it changes from student to student. So
Right.
yeah.
And there are lots of success stories, right? So just ask people around those who have taken the course. I believe they would be the right people to tell you like whether to take something or not take something. So
Right.
I believe
Even
there is
I
a lot of
took the,
success stories around that.
yeah, even I
So
took the
yeah, right.
course itself for Geeks
Great.
itself, and it helped me crack an internship. So yes, definitely you can take it. Then there's a question asked again. Just one second. Uh, they're saying that there are way too many people who are rejected in tech interviews, but because they couldn't express, right? Yeah, so basically thinking out loud and the way you should express in an interview. Can you tell a bit about that? Because many people I see are able to write the code and everything, but they're not able to clear
Right.
interviews. So yeah.
Right. Definitely, like you should be able to explain what you're doing, right? Because like just think about a situation, you are working in a team of a few people, and you are not able to explain them what is the code that you are writing. So that's something that's terrible, right? Like you are not able to explain them why have you written some code. So you should always be able to explain what you're writing or what your thinking process is. It's not necessary, like it's always better to be thinking out loud, like just like whenever you are actually like just don't consider the interviewer is here, right? Just think that you are teaching someone. So you are, when you're thinking about the problem, you might take some personal time, right? You might take a few minutes, 5 minutes to think about it, like what should be a direction that you want to go into. That's totally fine. You don't have to like just think everything out loud. If you want to take that, after that, whenever you are actually approaching to the solution, you should explain every step, like I'm doing this, I'm traversing on this array, why am I doing that, right? What is the agenda for this? Or I'm doing a DFS, why do I think a DFS would be helping me here? So you should actually be able to convey everything. So just walk the interviewer through the entire process, like how you're solving the problem. That will make the concept clear, like what approach you've taken, that will make it clear to the interviewer. And that will definitely like give you an advantage, because the interviewer actually knows what is the approach that you've taken. So if the interviewer doesn't understand, he might feel that you have done a wrong solution, or he might not agree with your solution. So just walk your interviewer through everything, the entire process, and that will definitely help, right? So yeah, that's around that.
I think we have taken all the questions. So
Mhm.
yes, with this we come to an end of this webinar, and I would like to thank you, Soham, for doing this and sharing your experience and giving great insights on how to prepare for tech interviews and DSA system design patterns. Thank you so much.
No worries. It's my pleasure.
Yes. And thank you to the audience as well for staying till the end. So yes, I hope that the webinar was helpful, and we will see you in the next webinar. Bye.
Yep, see you, bye.
So yes, also before ending this webinar, I would like to tell you all again that Geek Summer Carnival is going on, and there is huge discounts on the DSA courses, and the courses that we talked about in this webinar. Do not forget to check them out. The links would be provided in the description box below. And yes, I'll see you in the next webinar. Bye.